Good afternoon. Today is Monday afternoon, March the 30th, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you today talking about the Psalms. In fact, what I wanted to do was encourage you to spend a little bit of time with the Psalms each day during this period of time, these weeks of isolation, of physical distancing from one another, because I happen to believe that whatever you are experiencing in this time, whatever emotions you are feeling, chances are you will find a psalm that relates to that. And then you will know that you are not alone in those feelings. That other people of faith have shared those experiences with you, and they have shared those experiences with God as well. You may remember a few weeks back in one of my sermons, I told you that there are different kinds of psalms. Now, there are 150 psalms altogether in the book of Psalms, but there are also different classifications of psalms. There are psalms of thanksgiving and praise. Those are probably the most common kinds of psalms. There are also festival psalms, psalms that were meant to be sung in worship during particular times of year. Psalm 121 is probably the most famous example of this. This is actually known as a psalm of ascent. This is a psalm that would be recited or sung by pilgrims as they were making their way towards the city of Jerusalem for a particular festival. And they're psalms of ascent because the people would have to climb Mount Zion, the hill on which the city of Jerusalem is built. And as they did that, they would recite these words: I lift my eyes to the hills. From where is my help to come? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. There's also a classification of psalm known as the lament. And probably the most well-known lament psalm for Christians is Psalm 22. I say that because we almost always hear this psalm read or chanted this time of year. It's usually, in fact, a part of our Good Friday worship, because verse 1 has words that Jesus himself quotes as he is hanging on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? These are strong words of despair. And that's one of the things I think we will discover in the Jewish spirituality as we read the Psalms. That the Jews felt free to express the full gamut of human emotion and experiences in these songs and prayers to God. They held nothing back. They let it all hang out. They could express their fear, their anxiety, their anger with God even, their sense that God was not treating them justly, that circumstances were unfair. They would challenge God in these ways. We Christians are different. We have, for the most part, I think, been trained not to express these kinds of strong feelings in our prayers because we too fear that God will reject us, that God will be angry with us, will pass judgment on us if we express these very strong and challenging emotions, such as anger, such as a sense of injustice in our situation. If we complain to God, we've been taught as Christians not to do that. But the Jews felt perfectly free to express whatever was on their minds and on their hearts. And they could be very graphic in their descriptions in the psalm. The second half of the first verse that I read earlier says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Far from my deliverance are the words of my groaning. At times they would give expressions that would sound as if they were ill. The psalmist in Psalm 22 writes, beginning in verse 14, I'm poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws. And you lay me in the dust of death. there's a challenge for God. So the Jews are open. They express whatever is on their minds and on their hearts. And I know during this time you have experienced fear and anxiety. We all have. And perhaps you even experienced some anger or a sense that the situation is unjust, that God is allowing this to happen in our world, and so many people are in peril with the coronavirus and are ill, fighting for their lives, and so forth. I want to encourage you to be very open and frank about the way you are feeling at any given time. Express those emotions just like the psalmists were open about doing. But always remember that even in lament psalms, there is some expression of trust and faith in God. As you approach the end of Psalm 22, you will read, "I will tell of your name to the congregation. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you descendants of Jacob, glorify him, and stand in awe of him, all you descendants of Israel. For the Lord has not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, nor has the Lord hidden his face. But when he cried out to the Lord for help, the Lord heard." That's an expression of trust, of confidence in God's concern, in God's paying attention to our experiences, and in God's responses with deliverance. A trust that God will see us through this time of isolation, of fear regarding the COVID-19 virus, and see us through to a time when that threat is past and we resume life fully. I want to conclude this afternoon by sharing some words of comfort from another psalm. This is Psalm 91. And you may notice that portions of this psalm are reflected in a very familiar and beloved church hymn, "On Eagle's Wings." Hear these words. "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For it is he who delivers you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you may seek refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a bulwark." Let me conclude by sharing this sentiment with you, which has become something of a refrain for me of late. God bless you and stay well. Take care.